Hey guys, so it's been a long time since I've uploaded, so I wanted to talk about what I'm doing for fat loss currently. So this is kind of weird because I kind of have a few ideas for this whole video, but I'm just going to try to wing it. So I'm updating my fat protocol, so 1 day a week I'm going to fast the whole day. Health reasons and honestly weight loss reasons is the main reason. I'm also tracking my calories. I'm using MyFitnessPal on my phone. And then what I'm doing is I have a little journal. Like, I just have a little side journal. I'm going to take a photo of this and then try to enlarge it for you guys. And I'll leave it in the description and stuff so you guys can follow along. So I put the date. It's 1/9/21. I write down my steps. So I have a little tracker. And also I haven't been wearing it recently because I'm getting like irritation on the wrist from it, so I need to moisturize more, wear this less. It's cold outside. And then I put my calories already in line, and I put an X if I go over my calories, and then if I'm under or if I'm in the calories or on it, I put a check mark, or if I'm happy with it, I put a check mark. I put an X if I fail. And some days I want to put X's. I just want to have more check marks than X's basically, and I don't want my calories to be too high on days. So that's the reason why I have notes directly underneath it, so I can write down like, hey, I went over because I had blah blah blah, or this reason, and I write them down so I can see if there's a common trend to why I'm overweight. So like if I always say, oh, the reason why is because my family gave me leftovers. Well, then maybe I can just be like, well, I need to find a way to not get leftovers, you know, so I can look back in the past and just read the notes from a few days ago. Something else I implemented, this is a really nifty little trick, chewing 30 times before you swallow. So I was making a breakfast that I would eat just in one meal, and I would be hungry afterwards. I'd be hungry for the most of the day and just a little irritated. And then when I started chewing 30 times before swallowing, I realized I was going from eating this whole meal to it being spread out my whole day and becoming difficult to actually hit my calories. So like I have a day where I was chewing 30 times, but I force fed myself and I felt really good, so I had no bloat. I never go on jogs or anything just because I always feel fat, but I felt so good that I actually jogged for 5 minutes straight, which isn't a lot, but the thing is like I never jog. I go out of my way not to jog. Like I walk, but I was jogging for 5 minutes straight, and then I did 2 minutes before that earlier just because I was like, man, I'm feeling really good, so I jogged. And in the notes I said phenomenal breakfast. I ate it. I felt full the whole day. I didn't want to eat, and I didn't want another bite. I wrote that down. I jogged, and then when I was halfway done with breakfast, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was like, oh crap, I'm not going to hit my macros or my calories for the day if I keep chewing 30 times. So my macros, it's a little strange, I know. My protein is 235, my carbohydrates was 114, which is really low, which I only recommend if you're cutting and you don't want to be athletic. And my fat was at 96. And my steps was 15,000, and my calories were also in line. So I use MyFitnessPal to track it, and I'm aiming for 2 pounds a week, which is a lot for people, but I'm going above and beyond to make sure that's possible. And this is on 1/6/21, and the thing is, for the last 2 days, they've been awful just because I had a family doing tons of stuff and I couldn't track. My wrist was getting really irritated, so I couldn't track. And then on the 1/8/21 that day, I had a date, so I decided not to track, and I was like, I'm just gonna fast a bit. And you know, my wrist was still irritated, and so I just didn't wear it. So like the last 2 days, I didn't track or anything. So on the 7th and the 8th, no tracking whatsoever. But the thing is, you just want to consistently keep doing it. And so chewing 30 times, drinking lots of water, and using MyFitnessPal, they have a barcode thing, so just scan it. And the thing is like a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's really, you know, a lot of people will make excuses like, oh, I can just do this, I can do that. Well, if you aren't where you're supposed to be, and you keep telling yourself a reason why, you need to fix that reason why, or you have to realize that you're lying to yourself. Like I've never gotten to the point where I could see my abs, but I got all the way down to 220. I'm currently 260, and when I started I was 270-ish. So the thing is, the reason why I never got to the point where I could see my abs, and like I'll be honest with myself, is because I would stop eating and then I'd stop working out and blah blah blah. I made it too intense. I made it too long in a certain way, or just whatever. And now that I know all these little tricks and all these things, and it's like a lot of people are like, oh, don't use tricks, don't do that, just calories in versus calories out. You got to figure out what you like. And I figured out what I like. I like fasting 1 day a week. I like tracking my calories in a book. And I really recommend this guy specifically because, look, I have all these pages, and there's only like 3 or 4. You know, a couple pages are kind of meh because I was trying to figure out the method I like. And the thing is like I've made great progress just in those 4 days because it made my life easier and simpler, and it's a constant reminder. It's not so much, oh, you know, because a lot of people are going to do the extremes, so you don't have something to tie each in the middle. You're either going to, oh, I'm just not going to eat, you know, that way I know I'm not going to go over my calories, or it's like, oh, I'm just going to eye it, and it's like, well, you're eyeing oil. I always thought I was using 2 tablespoons, but it turned out I was using closer to 4. 2 tablespoons to 4 tablespoons, it's like 240 compared to 480. And if you eat 240 extra calories than you're supposed to, that's 2,400 calories in 10 days. There's like 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. So it's like, in 10 days, if I'm over by 240 calories for just 10 days, I almost gained a whole pound of fat, almost. And that's the thing, it's just, it builds up, you know, you gotta watch it carefully, and you have to write it down, and, you know, it's, like, this looks like a lot, but the thing is like, there's only, like, I just write it out in the morning, I do everything with MyFitnessPal, I track it, and the more you do it, the easier it'll get, and then at the end of the day, I just fill it in. And sometimes even in the morning, when I write down the new format, I just fill it in that day. And all that. It's super simple, it's super easy, and I can already tell the little bit I've used it, because, you know, I lost 10 pounds and I kind of plateaued a little bit, and I was like, well, what's the next step? Then I've already noticed better results, like I'm more physically active, I feel better, all the good stuff. So I highly recommend it, try it. Also, chewing 30 times, that really works. You know, and with softer things, you're not going to chew as much. Like a banana, you're not going to chew 30 times. That's more like 10 to 20. But like things like red meat, like steak, you might even chew like potentially up to 50, and depending on how much is in your mouth, potentially 100. Some things I heard people don't like about chewing 30 times, your jaw will start to hurt. My jaw actually felt better. Like it felt warm, which is good. Your appetite is crazy, and you don't get the nasty bloat. So like, I remember I was in the mirror, I turned sideways, and it looked like I just woke up out of bed instead of my stomach being bloated at the top and then slowly moving to the bottom. And then, you know, every time I ate a meal, it bloated at the top, and it was just made me look a lot fatter than I actually was. Alrighty guys, hopefully you learned something in all this, and, you know, try it out, see if it works for you, and take it easy.